Hello and welcome everybody to the Construction Contract Risk Management Breakout session. My name is Jeff Wells and I'll be one of the presenters during this session. We appreciate your time joining today. This session is going to last about 30 minutes. We'll leave some time at the end to address any questions that you may have during this presentation. Just a reminder, we'll be monitoring the chat box, so any questions that you do have, post those in the chat box, and we'll leave some time at the end. So I'm one of three individuals that will be guiding you through the breakout session today. As I stated, my name is Jeff Wells. I am the Amazon WHS Contracts Risk Manager. I have over 12 years in the construction safety industry, and I'm really blessed to be a part of the North American Design and Construction team, as well as a WHS or Workplace Health and Safety team member. As a member of both of these teams, one of my main priorities is to drive the construction contrast risk management efforts with all of our construction suppliers. And I'm going to be kicking off the breakout session today and guiding you through a very high-level overview of the pre-qualification process as it applies to Amazon Construction. Before I do that, though, I'd like to give the opportunity for our other presenters on the line, Ryan and Amanda, to introduce themselves. So Ryan, I'll turn it over to you for a quick intro, and then we can flip over to Amanda for an intro and then get started.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks to everyone for joining the call today. Really appreciate your time and are excited to present the content that we have. My name is Ryan Hester. I'm on the Global Engineering Services Design and Construction team at Amazon. I'm a senior pre-construction technical design manager, and I also lead the construction safety team. I came to Amazon with 16 years of industry experience, both in design, engineering, and construction operations. So with that, I'll pass it over to Amanda Reed with Avetta.
Great, thanks, Ryan. So my name is Amanda Reed, Senior Implementation Project Manager here at Avetta, working alongside Ryan and Jeff on the construction side with Amazon and developing a pre-qualification program and the configured requirements in the system. Also working alongside with Nestor and his team on the operational side as well for several years. I have over 10 years of project management experience and very excited to be working with the team here. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Amanda and Ryan. So what I'd like to do first is give you a brief explanation of the two different distinct sides of Avetta, or what we call construction Avetta and ops Avetta. Now, when we reference the construction side of Avetta, we're specifically talking about registration and pre-qualification process that occurs prior to day one, or as we call first receive date. And this is really before Amazon takes ownership of the sites. We currently rolled out the Avetta pre-qualification process through the construction side of Avetta at some selected sites in North America. Our plan is to roll out the Avetta registration process to the remaining GCs on our North American construction sites within the next approximately 6 months. Alternatively, the registration and pre-qualification in the ops side of Avetta is required for any GCs and their subcontractors planning to perform work after that first receive date or after that day one date when Amazon has taken control of the site. The ops side of Avetta is currently active, meaning that you and your subcontractors will be required to register and be pre-qualified in Avetta prior to initiating any work on an Amazon owned facility or site. It's important to note that there's going to be 2 breakout sessions following this one. We encourage that you attend those breakout sessions. The first breakout session is titled Aggregator, General Contractor, Subcontractor Management. That's intended and really directed for GCs. So we encourage you, if you're a GC on the line, to attend that session. The second breakout session is titled Connect, How to Stay Compliant and Safe on the Job. And this is intended for subcontractors. So if you're a subcontractor online, we really encourage you to join that second breakout session following this one. Slide. So what is Avetta and why are we asking you to participate in this pre-qualification program? Really, Avetta is a pre-qualification platform that aims to improve the partnership between Amazon and our contractors. Pre-qualifying our contractors is a critical element to our North American Construction Safety Contractor Management Program. Pre-qualification allows us to ensure that the health and safety is the top priority on our construction sites, and it also encourages contractors to meet predefined health and safety criteria, including regulatory compliance. Next slide. So when you complete the pre-qualification process, Avetta will conduct a review and keep on record the information that you've been requested to submit. This includes insurance documentation, safety performance records and metrics, your company's health and safety program and policies as well. Again, Avetta will work to review the information you provided in order to benchmark your company on key metrics such as your subcontractor pre-qualification program, your workers' compensation, your drug and alcohol programs, certificates of insurance, your EMR and your TRIR, which is total recordable incident rate. Additionally, your companies will be required to submit monthly health and safety statistics through the Avetta system. And this is something that comes up as an action item for you within the Avetta system, and there's just key metrics that you're required to fill out on a monthly basis and housed in the Avetta system. Slide. So I wanted to give you a visual of Ops Avetta versus Construction Avetta and the timeline that we really enforce and that you'll be seeing as we roll out over the next 6 months in the construction side. So the timeline really illustrates the flow from Construction Avetta to Ops Avetta. Prior to beginning construction, you'll be invited to register in the Avetta system and to begin your pre-qualification process. Again, you will be prompted to submit the required information during that pre-qualification process when a site is approaching day one, and you'll be contacted to ensure that the registration of the offsite Avetta has been completed prior to that day one hitting. The notification takes typically about 60 days prior to day one for any work that you're going to be doing post day one. So when you get notified and the site is still under construction, day one has not hit, you will get notified to onboard your subcontractors who will be working post day one. So you see the purple dashed line there. That's really signifying that day one date. Once day one hits, there should be no open action items left in Avetta to having all your subcontractors become compliant within Avetta, because that will impact being able to access the site and perform work. So really, during that construction phase, I just want to reiterate, you will be notified to onboard your subcontractors for post-day one work while the construction site is still owned by the GC. And I hope that made sense. If there's any questions that you have on that, post them in the chat and we can address them at the end of the session. But now what I want to do is I want to transition and turn it over to Amanda, who's going to be walking you through a live demo of the Avetta registration process. Again, during her demo, if you have any questions, please just shoot them in the chat box and we'll address them at the end. So with that, Amanda, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks very much, Jeff. So with that, I will flip over to another document here. And this document really is that notification that Jeff had mentioned a few times throughout his portion of the presentation. So as mentioned, there will be a notification that will go out to GC companies, basically to inform you that there is going to be, an additional Amazon construction site that is going to be having some active work, perhaps by your company. And so this letter here that you're seeing will be something that will be sent to you by Amazon. And this is going to outline sort of some of the steps to take in order to complete the pre-qualification process, be it for a specific Amazon construction site or any additional construction sites you may be performing work on as well. So a couple of key things to point out within this letter here. We do have some FAQs at the end of the letter. Once I scroll down, you have access to our Avetta registration team. So if you would like to give them a call to ask some questions or how to initiate your account, you can certainly reach out via the phone number as well as email address here. Some of the key dates that you'll see within the letter will be basically a 3-step process. So step 1 will be asking for a registration within the Avetta platform. So that could entail one of 2 things. If you are not an existing Avetta member, you would then register a brand new account in our system, which I'm going to be demonstrating to you here in a moment, and following the applicable steps to create your account for Amazon construction. And if you are an existing supplier within the Avetta network, you can simply add the additional Amazon construction sites to your account to begin the pre-qualification process there as well. And then steps 2 and 3 are really the documentation submission process, entering all of your safety statistics, insurances, etc. There will be also a timeline associated with having all of that complete so that we can see basically a compliant state within the system for the Amazon construction team. So this will be the letter that you'll see. A couple of Avetta supplier benefits can be noted here, but most importantly, I'd like to point out on this letter is the U.S. construction landing page that we have designed for Amazon. So when you do receive this letter, you can go ahead and click on this link to receive some further instructions and the ability to register an account. I believe this link will also be provided to you in the chat in case you would like to go ahead and check it out in advance. But if we do click on this link, we'll then be brought to our co-branded landing page for Amazon construction specifically. So a couple of key things to point out here. We do have the registration button. So again, if you do not have an existing account within Avetta, you can begin the registration process by clicking on this button. If you do have an existing account, you can also log into your existing account from this spot as well. If you do have questions about the process or anything related to the correspondence that was sent to you, you can call our registration team via the phone number listed here. And then, of course, if you scroll further through the landing page, you'll be able to see the compliance deadlines that was stated in your letter. We have some great Avetta webinar videos, nice short registration navigational pieces that should help you out throughout the process as well. Many frequently asked questions here. If you're looking for some more details in a quick fashion, you can look through the FAQs, more videos on registration. You can download a copy of your letter here, have a look at some of the benefits as to why you should join the Avetta network. And lots more fun information here, such as the products and services that we offer. And then, of course, navigation directly to our website for more information as well. So that is, at a high level, the landing page that you'll have access to in that registration letter that you will receive. And then the last portion that I do want to show you here is a quick overview of what the registration process looks like if you are not currently a supplier within the Avetta network. Once we do click on that register button, you'll be brought to a screen which will comprise of a series of 4 screens to go through. So some very short sort of questionnaires for you to complete in order to establish your new account within Avetta. So you do have the ability to select from multiple languages here. So as mentioned earlier in the presentations, we support many different countries across the globe. And with that, we also support the particular language selections here as well. So once you do select your language, the application will then display in that language that you selected. And you can proceed to enter in all of your company information. So things like your company name, You can, use your current location, or you can enter in your address manually there. You'll enter in some user account details, such as your first and last name to establish your user profile, an email address, and of course, a phone number to be logged on your account. And then from there, you can then establish your username, which from what I've seen in the past, most users would use their email address or similar formats for their username, and then the password credentials as they are sort of listed below here with the appropriate fields. So as you're entering in your password, this will auto check that you've met all of the appropriate settings to proceed. And then you can also read the Avetta terms and conditions document. You need to check this box in order to, as the button says, go ahead and get started. So we'll go over to the next screen here. So with the next screen, this is going to actually ask you who you're registering for within Avetta. And so what you're actually able to do here is, based on the letter that you received, you can go ahead and enter in Amazon US construction would be for this particular example here. And of course, if you're working in other countries and you're receiving the correspondence there, at some point in time, you can certainly enter in the account name as mentioned on the letter for your basically search criteria here. For this particular example, I'm going to pull up the Amazon US construction account here. And from there, you'll actually see when we just type in Amazon US construction, you have the ability to see many of the active construction project sites that we have enabled in our system for the pre-qualification activities. So if you are aware of which construction site you're performing work at, you do have the ability to add, one or multiple construction sites to your account upon this initiation process. And additionally, if you're already registered in Avetta, you'll have the same ability to add these construction sites to your existing account. You'll also see that we have some general contractor company names associated with Amazon US Construction. So for those of you who do receive notification from Amazon to onboard a certain subset of your subcontractors, this would be the type of account that you would onboard some of those companies into for those specific pre-qualification activities as well. And so from there, really, you'll just want to ensure that you are adding the appropriate sites to your account profile in order to go to the next step. In this case, I'm going to add the Amazon US Construction Suppliers account as the initial site connection. And that is really the general supplier account where we would house all of the initial general contractor connections to begin the pre-qualification for Amazon Construction. And then from there, you'll be able to add your site level or your project-based accounts as well. So from there, once you add your account connection, that would display on the right-hand side. You're able to click on the next button here, and you'll be brought to a brief questionnaire, which is going to help us identify what type of account needs to be established in our system based on the type of services that your company performs. So we do have a sort of four preliminary types of selection criteria here for you. So we have on-site services, off-site services, material supplier, and transportation. The main provider for Amazon in this instance would be the on-site services. That is who we're primarily focusing on at this time. If you do provide other types of services, you can certainly select multiple here to identify those on your account. And if you do that, just be aware that will trigger some additional question sets based on those additional services you might be providing. I will stick with the on-site services for this demo. We also ask whether you're a sole owner with no employees. And the reason for that is, there are certain condensed requirements, based on a company with no employees that we would then apply to the account. So if you do select yes here, we will automatically configure those requirements. I'm going to select no, and then of course the number of employees that you currently have within your company. From there, you'll now see a green check beside the first portion of this form, and then we can then jump into the service safety evaluation. Here, there are 8 questions associated. So we call this our risk assessment here in the registration process. So again, we have a typical list of questions to help identify basically the safety risk associated with the type of work and services that you're performing as a company as a whole. So this assessment would be based on not only the services that you're providing for Amazon, but the services end-to-end that you're providing for all of your clients and customers as well. And this helps us to ensure that we're checking all of the relevant safety programs and procedures, et cetera, required based on all of the work that you perform. So you can just simply go through here, answer all of these questions. Are you performing work on site, for an example? Another example, are you performing site in only administrative areas? I'm going to click no here for this example. Are you escorted 100% of the time? So really high-level questions. Do you need specialized PPE? Are you using power tools? Do you need permits to work? And you'll just go ahead and answer these questions based on your company specifically here. Once all of those questions have been completed, you'll now see the next button appear here. You can go ahead and click that, and from there you'll be brought to basically the screen to complete your account setup. So that pretty much concludes my demonstration piece here. So I believe from this point, I'm going to pass it back over to Ryan Hester to complete the Q&A portion of this session. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. Great job there. I've been monitoring the chat window here. I know we've got about 7 minutes left. Couple of questions that were voiced from Chad White. Will the registration be assigned to me via Avetta, or what is the best approach to get that established? I think the answer to that question, once registered, Avetta will use that person as the point of contact for all registration correspondence. So if there is any confusion with regard to who your point of contact is for the Avetta correspondence, Amanda, what would be the best method of tracking down that information if it is not known?
So the correspondence, meaning the letter information?
Correct. For someone who attempts to register in Avetta, if they'd like to confirm who their point of contact is for all Avetta correspondence, what's the best way to confirm that?
Yeah, so they can call the 1-800 number within the letter, and our supplier support and registration teams are equipped to direct that person into the main contacts that we have supporting the Amazon account. And then subsequently, we also have Scott Arthur's contact information, who is the global account manager for Amazon, included within the correspondence as well. Does that answer the question?
That does. Yes. Thank you very much. Second question, this is a really good one, I believe from Chad White as well. Are temporary labor agencies part of these requirements? If so, how do we get them linked to Avetta? I think the response there would be any person requiring access to a live and operating facility. They would need to be from an employer or under the supervision of a contractor who is pre-qualified within Avetta. So for temporary labor, if that individual has been hired by your firm, and you are directly supervising that individual and the safety of that individual, your firm needs to be pre-qualified within Avetta. So hopefully that answers the question. Another question from K8 Gunter, to clarify an earlier comment. So as a GC, will I need to have all of my subcontractors register within Avetta, or do they fall under mine? The response there is that all subcontractors will need to be pre-qualified if they are accessing the facility after the building turnover. So again, this is focused on post day one. So if you need to have access to the facility, you need to be from an employer who is pre-qualified. I believe those were a bulk of our questions here. We answered the question from Chad about how to get the current point of contact from Avetta. The 800 number would be the best point of contact there. And one final question here from K.A. Gunter. I'm already registered and paid, so my subcontractors will need to pay a separate fee that is tiered based upon the amount of employees. So the pricing structure for Avetta ranges from zero cost for a very small company, and then increases based on the number of employees your firm or company employs. And Amanda, do you have the pricing structure that you can verbally convey? I don't have that available, but we could certainly share that to the group after the presentation.
Yes, I would say we'll circulate that as a follow-up.
Very good. And if you have any questions on Avetta, on the pre-qualification process, on pricing structure, please reach out directly to your construction manager as the most direct point of contact, and then we can escalate that question. The other option is to work directly through the 800 number, and then you'll be accessing Avetta directly. So if it is a field operations concern or question, I would start with your CM to ask the question, and if they're not able to get the answer quickly, please resort to calling Avetta directly. We have a few minutes left here. We will remain, I believe, quiet on the phone. If there's any other questions that come through, happy to answer those verbally.